Hi, everybody. Elida Zweidler-McKay with Engaging Leadership, where we're all about helping you become the kind of engaging leader that people want to have on their teams, want to promote, want to move forward, and also having you be the kind of engaging leader that engages the people around you so that they're lit up and inspired and productive in their work. So today I want to talk to you about turf wars. We now have two cats. My parents, I think many of you may know that my father died, and my parents had this cat who was living with him. And so mom wasn't able to take him into her new assisted living. So Timmy is now living with us. And Timmy is hanging out in my in the den where my husband works all day now that he's home for the pandemic. And our other cat, Lily, is kind of has the roam of the rest of the house. And what's been really interesting to watch is how they're navigating that. So, we've done things like fed them on each side of the door and stuff to try to get them to sniff each other and get a sense for each other and start to get a feel for, that there's another cat in the house and maybe they can get along. And Timmy's curious. So he's making all these like, hi, who are you kind of sounds. But Lily is not interested at all in having another cat in the house. And she sort of sits outside the den and growls at the door. And anytime Timmy is making his hello sounds, she's like right there kind of hissing back at him. So it's not a very warm welcome. And what's even more interesting to me is that Lily has lived most of the last, year or so, pretty much with my son in his room. Like she has the roam of the house, but she is his cat and she hangs out on his bed all day while he's doing his homeschool. And, she snuggles with him and she pretty much lives in that room until Timmy came. And now that Timmy is in our lives, even though he is only in that one room in the den, Lily's now starting to claim her space in other parts of the house. So she's now starting to hang out in the living room again. She's now starting to hang out and even spend the night in my room again. Like she is really claiming her territory. And seeing that pattern has me thinking about how much that's like what happens in organizational life, how easy it is for people to become a little territorial. And, this is one of the patterns that just crops up from time to time in teams and in organizations. And so I wanted to spotlight it for you today and kind of talk about why it happens and what you can do about it if you come across it. So the issue is that, anytime you are entering a new organization or you are in an organization and you're wanting to take on a new project or take a new kind of initiative forward, if you're going to be bumping up against or crossing into somebody else's territory, there are some real watch outs that you have to be paying attention to in order to make sure that you don't get that resistance and you don't get the land grab kind of reaction like dear Lily is doing to Timmy. So if you've experienced this ever, I know you know how painful it is, right? Here you are wanting to do something for the organization, wanting to put a new initiative in place. It's a great idea. It's going to bring more revenue, or it's going to make process run more smoothly. And all you have to do is get other people to come along with you and help you make it happen and implement it together. And as long as they buy in and you buy in, you can make something new happen. So you have this beautiful idea. You're so excited about it. You go to meet with the people who need to come along with you to make it work. And they respond with stony silence. That's not going to work here. That's not really how we do things. I don't really see how that's going to work. I've got all these other projects. I don't have time for that. And there you are with your little idea, all excited about it. And now it's like the air goes out of the balloon. And now you're upset and you're mad. And like, why won't they? Don't they see that this is going to be great for them? Don't they see that this is going to be better for all of us? Why can't they come along with that? So that's one of the ways that plays out. Or maybe you're new to a job and you're getting a feel for your new role and you're understanding, what your role is and how the part you play in your team, and you're getting to know your teammates, and you're sitting in on one of those team meetings and you come up with an idea for here's how we could solve something, or hey, here's what we did at my last job and it was great. And instead of like, oh, that's great, yeah, tell me more about it, what you get is, yeah, that would not work here. No, you don't really know how things go around here. You probably ought to get to know us a little better before you start making suggestions, right? Once again, air goes out of the balloon, you feel completely deflated. This happens over and over and over again in organizational life, and it is so dispiriting because you just wanted to help. You just wanted to make things better for everybody. So why are you getting that wall of resistance? Why are you getting that arms crossed, leaning back, not what we want to do? If people were rational, you wouldn't be getting that response because they'd see the value of what you're bringing. They'd see the value of your idea. But the reality is, as much as we wish this weren't true, people aren't so rational. People are driven by all kinds of underlying dynamics that have to do with power, that have to do with managing the unknown, that have to do with change, that have to do with pecking order. And because of that, sometimes our gut reaction to a new idea isn't to take it in and get curious about it and wonder how we're going to make it work. Our gut reaction to a new idea is to go, nope, that's not going to happen here. And that reaction comes at a big cost, right? Because it stifles innovation, it stifles creativity. And so if you're the one having that reaction and you're kind of surprised by like, why am I feeling this way? Or if you're on the receiving end of it and you're like, come on, it was a good idea. One of the things that you can do for yourself and for your career that will help your mental health and also help your ongoing success is to be aware that that's just a pattern. That's just one of the ways that people respond to something new. Not all the time, but every once in a while. And there are some things that you can do differently in terms of how you bring in new ideas, how you bring people along with new ideas. There are ways to talk about them, ways to engage people with them that make it more likely that they won't have that response. And there are certainly ways to maneuver around that response when it comes up that's different from what most of us feel like we want to do naturally, which is to kind of push back. And then we end up in this kind of tug of war. But the first and most important step in all of that is the awareness that that pattern exists, the awareness that there are ways in which groups try to keep out differences. There are ways in which groups try to take over the turf, try to expand their territory, that these things are built into human interactions and human group dynamics. And so when you know that, then you can catch it as it's happening. You can catch it in yourself, and you can also see it in other people and not take it so personally, and then find ways to do something different. And Barry Oshry calls it the dance of the blind reflex, that reaction that we have to other people when they're stepping in a certain way or bringing ideas in a certain way. We are caught up in those dances all the time. And the more you're aware of them, the easier it is to not take them personally, the easier it is to step back and get strategic about it and identify the moves that you can make. That's what was so fun in working with one of my clients. She got a new job where she was working in a new part of the organization, and she is such a great problem solver and such a great thinker that in the past she's had the challenge where she's gotten into a new job and then somehow kind of gets off on the wrong foot with people. So what we did was we really looked at making an intentional effort as she started her new job of building relationships first, without offering suggestions or ideas, without coming in too fast or too bold with her new thinking, but really starting with building that trust and building those connections first. And that went a long way toward creating the openings that she needed to then be able to show up with her full energy and her full excitement and her full ideas. So that's just one example of one of the ways that you can sort of pay attention to how your new ideas are going to come in, how your initiatives are going to come across to people, and what you can do to set yourself up so that they're successful. Because look, one of the most frustrating things is to be the person who has the ideas that then don't get implemented, or to be the person who has the idea that gets turned down and then later suggested by somebody else who makes it happen and gets it implemented and gets all the credit for it. So knowing how to finagle that in your career, knowing what those dynamics are and knowing how to strategize around them is one of the keys to your success. And if that's not familiar to you, that's something you're not used to doing or used to thinking about, I strongly recommend that you make that a part of building out your career, that you learn what those patterns are. There are some great books and resources. The books by Barry Oshry, particularly Seeing Systems, is a wonderful resource. The other thing I could recommend is that you work with a coach who understands those patterns and can help you notice them and navigate them. If that's intriguing to you, that is certainly a big part of what I do and what I've been doing for the last 20 years with my clients. I'd be happy to talk with you more about your situation, what some of those dynamics are that you're experiencing, and some strategies that you could use to move through them. You can book a call with me at zmcoach.net/call. I look forward to talking to you. Take care.